Hit it. talk to, and it really seems like a lot of patients I talk to, cannabis has really, 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 really significantly helped. I've worked with patients as well, saws, stuff like that. Now, have you been? Do you still feel like it's in your system, or do you think it's something that you have overcome? Basically, like, do you think at some point you can reach trigger it? Well, the great thing about when you're talking about with health is, yeah, yeah. Do you think that you've got it out of your system? I guess is the best way to say it.
In health, that there's five pillars. I believe it's diet, exercise and movement, meditation, spirituality, sleep, and socialization. Not social networking, but in-person socialization. I'm not great at all at any of those five, and that's what I'm going to work towards for the rest of my days, is those 5 pillars to health. And I believe if you can do well at those 5, that at the end of the day, you will feel better. You won't need as much medicine or any medicine at all. You won't need as much sleep. You will feel better. You have more motivation to get up off the couch, go live, go do the things that you want. Not eating processed food. We've been doing a lot of that since the quarantine. Coffee, caffeine. I'm on like day 8 or 9. I am terrible. I think we had this conversation. Caffeine is, I can move mountains for an hour, and then after that, it's like I have a shortcut in my adrenals, and I'm a nasty person afterwards. How much road rage has been caused by caffeine? But cannabis is the gateway drug, right?
No, it definitely is. That's what they say, right? Is it the gateway or the exit drug? I mean, we can have a discussion on this. And this is my biggest argument I love to have with people, because I'm real with myself and like my friends of where we entered the cannabis drum and why. You know what I mean? There's the pressures that are there. And, you know what I mean? Opioids addiction is far different than a cannabis addiction. It takes a different person, a mental state, I believe, that to be in those positions. But I mean, it's all peer pressure, right? It's all where we are at when we were kids. The other drugs, the alcohol that we were drinking at the time. I think people get hooked. You know what I mean? So that being said, I mean, a lot of people don't understand the value of cannabis for medical purposes. I mean, there's a lot of people out there again with Lyme disease that doesn't understand and feel that they don't have any hopes out there. I know the guy that I was helping out with, he went from literally 12 balls of medicine a day to CBD oil and salt. He was different. He had skin lesions from working at IBM, basically. So his body was rejecting all these little micro, nano things that he absorbed. And I've never seen anything like it. What you're preaching is, your 5 steps. You nail it right in the head. We love that Dr. Bob come on the show, because Dr. Bob really goes into those 5 steps. It's not just about cannabis, right? It's about our own, there's a trickle-down effect right down to what we eat and ingest in our bodies. If we're going to ingest and eat crap all day long, processed crap, then we're toxifying our bodies, and toxification becomes mental illness, right? It becomes these
processed food is the belly's full and the body is starved. Mm-hmm. Processed food. Like I tell people, like with oils, and I'm guilty. I use coconut oil. Like, if you want coconut, eat the coconut. If you want olives, eat the olives. Processing food is not good. When we take the fiber out of food, fiber is the key. I don't care if you're vegan, vegetarian, paleo, caveman, whatever diet you are, they'll all agree. One of them, most of them will say dairy is crap. But really the key is fiber. Without fiber, fiberless food, there's a saying, death begins in the colon. Well, start eating fiberless food, and you will be there. And and it's amazing. I see people with a drawer full of candy bars, and they complain about, I have Crohn's disease. And it's just like, there's a huge disconnect. There is a massive disconnect. And when you go to a doctor's office, unfortunately, the intake, the diet is, I hope it's becoming more of a bigger part of health. But I've had people tell me, my doctor said I can eat anything I want as long as I take this step. And that's a road to taking more drugs and to not being healthy. And where I come in is with the cannabis is I tell people, because everybody thinks THC, right? There's this stigma, we have to end that. But I like to talk to them about doing one-to-ones, adding cannabis, adding CBD, and the way I describe it, just in layman's terms, is hey, I make it from a high to a body buzz, a heal, and this is what people need to know, and this is the whole stigma of rolling up a joint and smoking. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I did that most of my life, but it never healed me. It chilled me out. Where I healed was eating the activated extract, growing it biodynamically, processing it in the most ethical and least invasive way that I can. Not the best. I'm getting there. But when I eat it as a medicine and I put CBD in it, and I marry the two, or I grow it where it came from nature, that's where the true healing comes in. And I can't wait till federal legalization comes in, because we can actually study and we can put numbers and data and we can show people. But what's going to happen. The Super Bowl is going to come on, and Canna Boganics brought to you by Pfizer. We've isolated. They're going to come in and they're going to preach to the world that we have the best stuff, and they're going to sell isolated crap. You know this, I know this, the American public doesn't know this. So now is our time. Now is the opportunity. Part of what I want to do with this is hit the road and spread the word. Basically, I want to be the modern day Robin Hood. I want to sell the legal CBD, and I want to do this legally, sell the CBD legally. And then we have an after profit that goes to taking THC that states that are legal, and I will build a mobile van, and we take that van to the person's property, and we process their flower into usable medicine, and we hand it off to a health expert, like the American Cannabis Nurses Association. My dream is that I believe there's 8 chapters, that each one of the chapters has their own rolling lab, so they can go and help people. And I want to help move the needle for the future of cannabis, as a medicine.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great idea. There's a lot of things.
Here, real quick, Joe, before if you don't mind me jumping in real fast, we actually represent the American Cannabis Nurses Association.
I was just saying.
Always, they're an incredible organization, Eric. Great that you gave them a shout out, because what they are doing is unbelievable. And we need professional services in the industry. I just want to back up what you're saying. When you're talking about the benefits of the endocannabinoid system and the beneficial impact of cannabis in the human body, it is the entourage effect is real. CBD isolated, THC isolated, anything isolated, you're not only missing out on the bigger picture, because CBD is a modulator. It modulates the rest of the cannabinoids. It is the blend of cannabinoids that is so powerful. That is what reacts with our endocannabinoid system, and that is what gives you the widest range of effects. Is when you have the full spectrum. You're not isolating out any one cannabinoid. And you're absolutely right about federal legalization. Once we can really dive in and do the research, start understanding the interactions, that's just fascinating. I'm just so happy to hear you say that. I'm really excited about it.
I have to agree. I was just going to say something about the Nurses Association, the American. We also have one here in Vermont through Jesse Lynn, which we always need more nurses, guys. So in your state, if you have a Cannabis Nurse Association, join them. Lend them some support. Let's get rid of these stigmas. I know Jesse Lynn fights stigmas constantly in the medical field, but there is the American Cannabis Association. They do great things. I don't believe we have a rolling one here in Vermont yet, but we definitely need the support. It's a beautiful thing. The thing I wanted to say about the isolates was that the only good thing about isolate, and the only thing I want to be careful with is, I totally agree with you guys. We want medicine, it has to be a whole plant, right? We have to get the cannabinoids, we have to get them early off the plant. We have to restore them as much as we can without chemical extractions. The chemical extraction process really kills cannabinoids as well. I was going to have Brandon come on real quick and give me a quick rundown and back me up on this. When we talk about the one-to-ones, which Eric brought up earlier, I wanted to throw a little chip on there because we're seeing that a lot of these patients right now that are using one-to-one, they're having tremendous responses to it, right? There's also 2-to-1s. There's different kind of blends that we can do. Brandon's working with a patient right now on a special blend. literally specifically for the patient and what the needs are, using strain-specific materials, in a brand new application system that's about to hit market here shortly, which we're really excited to be actually a part of. But when it comes to one-on-ones and you're everybody's looking for the CBD cure for their cancer, which it really isn't right. And then you have a Rick Simpson on the other end, which God bless Rick Simpson. We love you, Rick Simpson, but it's not always about the crazy high, just all THC. You need a little bit of CBD in there, right? It's kind of like what I like to tell people, like, you're going to put it this way, CBD will repair, right? It ain't going to destroy, right? So the THC will go in there and destroy, but it ain't going to repair. So literally, when you think about it, you got to have one with the other to really make a positive effect. Now, will one by itself help? Yes. Do we see CBD isolates on the market here and there? Yes. The only really good thing about CBD isolate, and I just want to put it out there, and I know it's going to cause a lot of response from you guys because I want to respond to my own criticism here, but if you're in a position where you have a job that relies on you that still have to piss clean, the only way that you're going to be guaranteed to piss clean is probably through isolate. So if you're going to get whole plant oils, just be aware. I just want to make that, if you work for law enforcement, you work for a state job, you work for the government, like there's a chance that you can pick up THC at a level that you may feel attacks. Now, is that a level that's going to make you feel like you're stoned or give you a disabilitated feeling? No, like Tim was saying, there's an entourage effect. Dr. Ethan Russo talks about the entourage effect a lot. We're going to do a cryo-cure test here. We're going to run cryo-cure. They're going to send us some equipment, and we're really excited because the idea is keeping the cannabinoids in our flower, right? When you even cure your flower, you lose cannabinoids. So the entourage effect is a very important thing. Eric, what you guys are talking about with this Canna Care thing right now, you're going to work with nurses, you're going to help out farms, and you're going to go straight to the client, correct?
Well, yes, I would, because within the letter of the law, you cannot go around with, a medical patient can go around with 2 ounces or 10 grams of extract.
Correct.
Not enough. So provided the patient has the flower, and there's other ways, I would like to help legislate, because if the patient doesn't have the flower, let's work out so we can travel with cannabis in solution in as much as we want. There's one way to get around it. But I want to go, again, to the patient's home, to their property, process their flower on property, so I come in a van with no product on it. Legal. I leave. It's clean. It's legal. The patient gets their medicine. They know exactly how it was grown. They can see exactly how it was processed. It doesn't have to go anywhere. And a processor legally can't touch it anyways. As soon as it goes over the 1% in Vermont, they can't touch it, or 0.3 in other states. So this is a necessity. I believe it's an absolute necessity, because once legalization on the federal level does come, I would like for us as an elected to be there on the front line to help write the rules, and for us to help put the word out that we want the correct one. Because if we just let these corporations go out and the pharmaceuticals go out there and educate America when it becomes legal, the wrong message is out there. So if I'm out there and I'm doing town by town, and I'm just going in and doing seminars, and I've got a collective, Rowan, that's helping that line, we can get the message out that we want. We can be the Ben and Jerry's or the Toms of CBD. We can be a bunch of little Vermonters that just collectivize, that build this line that can actually move the needle. I'm not looking to drive a Ferrari. I'll drive a Ford. That's okay. But what is important is that we take after profit and we build this lab. And then the other thing, on the off days, I'll call it, the lab can go out for profit and go to an adult user's home that wants their product converted over. Mm-hmm. And then, so there's a revenue stream. On the collective side, what I'm hoping to do, and I made a little videos, I was hoping to use the CSA model, and I had a plan here to do it, and everything got blown up this year. That's okay. I had my co-op interested. They're not even open yet. It's all curbside only. But I had them interested in them selling CSA shares for my grow, and I was going to get a few others to collectivize, and we would use the CSA model. So I could help get funds up front. And the biggest thing I'd like to do is I'd like to build a model where instead of you, the farmer, who works your tail off and who probably makes the least, I would like for you to be able to sustain. So what I'm thinking is if you do the CSA model, right, we get funds up front. So it helps with, it helps with buying genetics. It helps with, with your farming. And then the biggest side is the processing. Because what I would love to do, because most of us, if you're growing, say you have a ton, 2,000 pounds, do you have $300,000 to process that? Plus the bottles, plus the label, plus all your distribution? Probably not. You're going to split with the processor. So now half of your effort, half of your labor is gone. Because you didn't have the 300K up front to do that. So half your labor is gone. So now you're going to have half of your product that they're going to white label, they're going to sell to somebody else, and chances are it'll be on the shelf next to you. So why not sell it to your community at basically dealer cost or maybe a little below? You take a hit, and maybe you'll take a hit on some sales locally, but ingrain your community, sell it to them instead of the processor. Then you have cash to go to the processor. So with the processor, you're going to move up the line because I have cash versus I want to split. Now I took that split away, I took that stuff away from white label, and I gave it to my community at cost. And we build on this, and I was wanting to do proof of concept this year, and then bring in like 10 guys just to make the math easy. Bring in 10 guys, and what we would do is say, hey, who's the smallest? How much can you grow for Cannabis Cares, right? We'll just say 100 plants for 10 guys, make it easy. And I would go and sell all that CSA style, and on the portion that I'm gonna buy from you, I would try to get you as much cash throughout the season up front via CSA. And again, I'm going to try to help us all collectively get enough together where we could go and we could sell enough that we could bring cash to a processor instead of a split. And a middle to long range goal on that is if I'm out there in the lower 48 selling this, there's enough to do this, is we could go to the community, we could borrow from the community, and in 5 years we could build our own processing plant.
I'll tell you, Eric, I think that's a fantastic way to think about it. With a lot of the hemp farms that I work with, that's one of the biggest issues that they're running into at the end of the season is they don't want to just lose all their products and sell it in biomass. They want to create their own products to be able to help their community, but they don't have the money to do it. So, like you said, they're losing half their product, half their hard-earned product, that they've been spending the last 2 months already prepping to go into the ground, and are going to spend the next 5 months growing outdoors, not to mention the harvest and curing time before they can even actually send it off to the processor to actually be processed. So in that respect, having a collective like that can join forces and collectively provide cash to the processor so you get all of your material back is so much more beneficial to the community as a whole. I think even the processor would enjoy that.
Well, I think we're seeing a lot of this in the food industry now, right? Because of the COVID-19 or lockdown, people are going to these local farms and following these CSAs, right? It's a great way of doing it, especially if you're a patient, because now you can monetize. There's a number, you know what you have to pay in, and then you know you're getting your product still, right? And typically it should be a discounted cost versus a dispensary, right? And here in Vermont, our unilateral dispensary system doesn't really give anything back to our community. If you want to talk about a cannabis community, it kind of takes away from it in retrospect, because it creates a divide between the holistic black market, we could say, the medical black market, the people who really care, they're trying to make a quality product to really help their neighbors and their friends and their relatives, versus a commercial product, correct? Now, Tim, we have Tim on the line, and who better to talk about this around than our lawyer here in the state of Vermont, or our big-time cannabis lawyer. We love you, Tim. Tim, this is a great idea, right? I'm loving this idea. I've been talking to Eric about it for a while. I want to be a part of this because I think it's a beautiful thing for what Vermont and New England and what farming life is. It's a culture, right? Tim, how feasible would this be for Eric to get done, and what kind of support should we be showing him on this?
It's feasible if we get S54 passed. If we establish a cannabis control board.
stores are actually funding the growers, right? They're not doing it themselves. They have no time for that. They should be literally dealing with the customers. You are a dispensary. You should be more worried about the medical side of treatment than you are the growing side of treatment.
Joe, forced vertical integration is the main reason that the Vermont medical program is the joke that it is. Forced vertical integration was the absolute worst idea. This should have been opened up to growers who knew what they were doing from day one. It was a huge mistake. It was a huge reason, along with some poor management decisions and lack of funding and a very restrictive qualifying condition list. And gun rights in Vermont was a huge thing as well. We get a lot of harms. And when you register as a medical marijuana patient on a registry, you are technically committing a federal felony by being in possession of a firearm. Now, there hasn't been any prosecutions from the District of Vermont. The District of Vermont is not looking for people. But the reality is, you are in violation of federal law. And that is too far for a lot of people.
When I spoke to my doctor, before I obtained my medical card, that was one of the first things he asked me. He said, "Do you own any firearms in your home?" I said, "Yes, absolutely." He said, "Get rid of them." He said, "Sell them and keep documentation that you've gotten rid of them before you obtain this medical card and before you ever go to a dispensary." He said, "Otherwise," he said, "at that point, you're committing a felony." He said, "You may be okay at the state level, but if the federal government decides to prosecute, well, you're up shit creek without a paddle."
Let me just explain one thing, because I know we have a lot of listeners listening right now. This is a huge issue, not only in Vermont, across the fucking country and in most continents, right? The problem is that it's not marijuana, guys. It's the scheduling of marijuana. Typically, or technically, you are creating a felony, you're going to get charged for a Scheduled 1 substance felony. Marijuana has nothing to do with it. It's just like heroin, just like everything else. Technically, if you get caught with a heroin, you're not supposed to have a firearm as well. This is the tricky part of the thing. Now, Tim makes a great point. Everybody in Vermont has a firearm. Most states are hunting states. Maine, you look out west. I mean, a lot of these states are rural states. They are very hunter. They are very pro NRA, which I believe everybody should have a gun right. I'm not going to take anybody's gun rights away. But I do understand the scheduling of cannabis, so I don't want anybody to get mad at cannabis because it's not cannabis's fault. It's the scheduling of cannabis, which is why we are pushing for the rescheduling of THC products. The CBD is going. We're making strides with CBD, right? They're descheduling. They're allowing some companies to actually put to market, and so they rescheduled it, right? So CBD is a different story, as we all know. But once you put THC anywhere near it, and you have a gun in your house, now no matter what you have, it becomes a federal issue, right, Tim? We've seen
You're exactly right. And it's not cannabis, it's the classification of cannabis as Schedule 1 controlled substance. What the law says is that a user of a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 controlled substance is ineligible to be in possession of a firearm. So just by virtue of using cannabis, technically, you are in violation. Now, at the same time, I want to temper it. FBI agents are not going around with a medical patient list door to door and searching houses. That's not the case. Nobody's looking for it. But if they wanted to come after you for something else, if there was an incident, if there were a lot of factors which could potentially result in a prosecution. Just the risk, just the fact that you are living every day in violation of federal law simply because you are both a hunter and a legal gun owner and a medical marijuana patient is an unacceptable situation. And that's something that really does need to be addressed. Again, we kind of went off on a tangent here on this one. It's something that people need to be aware of.
Yes, very much so. I mean, we've seen it in Vermont a few times where we've had small arrests made that become big issues because of a firearm. Now, if you're a business owner, most business owners have a firearm. I don't care what business you're in, right? Like, you have a firearm somewhere, just in case you get robbed, right? And, why would a cannabis business be any different than wanting to protect themselves, right? Here we are. We have a highly wanted product that people are going to steal. You have flash cops, stuff like that. Not that you want to shoot anybody, but you want to be able to protect yourself if anything happens, right? That's my only thing. That's one thing we really have to work hard on the next legislation that we got to do. We're seeing some states actually allow that to happen. Now they're giving gun rights back to people and just foregoing a federal issue. But then again, if you land yourself in a federal case, it's gonna really affect your outcome of what's going on, just because of a firearm. So, but let's get back to where we were. Again, sorry about going off on that tangent. I know it's just something that is a huge topic to people that we talk about a lot on the show and on off air because everybody asks. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't realize, and they get mad at Vermont. They get mad at our Senate. You know, it's nothing to do with Vermont. It's a federal issue. It's a scheduling issue. So I just want to educate everybody that way when we are making that fight, we know what we're fighting for. What we need to do to win the fight. All right. So the firearm thing is a huge deal. Now we were talking about the collaborative deal, right? We got into the dispensary issues, and we got into all these other issues, and what we would like to see. What Eric has put together here is something that really I feel could be a substantial thing, not only in Vermont, but across many different states, especially in states where we don't have a lot of dispensaries or delivery systems where we get out to people. COVID-19 is changing a lot of that in a lot of states, which is crazy. To see that we're doing curbside pickups, we're doing deliveries. So let's get back to Eric's point because now I'm just rambling. Sorry, guys. Little stone. Yoda's cut. Can't wait
And so just to be clear, the collective that I want to put together is for hemp.
Yes.
And then the lab is for THC for the medical patient.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to use the corporate America to help the new medical America that we're hopefully to see here in the next few years. And again, wanting to do everything within the letter of the law.
Mm-hmm.
And when that federal legalization comes, that we could possibly have a hand in either shaping it, or really what I want to do is help shape that.
No,
I misunderstood. I thought you meant THC. If hemp, that's you're good to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I
Definitely.
believe it's something that's really needed because I've talked to hemp farmers that literally are looking. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to process. They
No.
they don't want to ship it across state lines. To bring a processor to a hemp company to process their field is a genius idea. It's something that really should be happening. And again, anything we can do. Eric, how can people help you with this? And what do you need right now to get this vision set up, like off the ground?
What we need is, we probably need, just to keep the math simple, we need 10 farmers, whatever it takes. A handful will work. And we need people with a like mindset. And I don't want, everybody has to have a day job. I'm the one who's going to put myself out there and I'm putting, my tail on the line. I couldn't afford, nor do I want anybody else to take a risk. So this is part of this is that it's low risk for people and it's sustainable, because if you have a 2-acre farm and I ask you to grow 100 plants for the cause, if I fail, it's not a big deal. It's not gonna hurt. And then as we grow the line, so I'd like to just do proof of concept this year. I got 10, if we got 10 pounds for 10 people, and I'm processing day and night. I make us a line and I go out there and sell it. And we can scale. Then from there we can scale up. And my plan is, I'd like to get a van soon and put my lab on the van, and then eventually take that lab and put it on a trailer and convert the van into an RV. Then looking at doing the stealth. If you look up van life anywhere on social media, you won't believe what you can put in a Sprinter van.
Oh yeah.
So
a tiny house.
Right?
Yes, because I have an 11-year-old and my wife. I want a bathroom and I want a kitchen. I need a little TV, and so I need all those things. And I was a sales rep. I want to go out there, and so with Cannabis Cares, the plan is to put this on a blockchain. And there's a few reasons for that. And we can be more transparent, and we can share things with the customer. Because what I'd really love to do is have the customer to follow a patient and have them be able to donate. So we would add $1 into the cost that's going to go towards, I'm calling it hemp funding. So we can take what Susie B. Komen should have been and GoFundMe and put them together. And I want to create hemp funding. And I'm going to do this with giant QR codes. So my stealth van, I can just slap a 4-foot QR code on the side, and people are going to scan it when they drive by. and we can take them to where we want to take them. And we could say, hey, we're on our way to St. Joe, Missouri because, Joey he's 7 years old, he's got cancer. We're going to help. We're going to do a ride. We're going to provide CBD, whatever it is, we have a message. And hey, by the way, you can help support this by buying our product, and you can also donate. And people want to share their stories. So somebody says, hey, you helped me out, and I want to share my story. And it's just about getting the word out there. And so this is what I want to put myself on the line. I want to go into the store in the morning, tell them about, to show them the product, tell them about the QR code, and part of the blockchain is when you scan it, you're going to get, it's 21st century, man. Like when I scan it, there should be a choice on, hey, I want to see test options. I want to see your lab, your great results. Hey, I want to see the farm. I want to see the process. Tell me about CBD. Tell me about your purpose, right? And so just scan the QR code. So I want the customer to see that and to be involved. And then we can marry these worlds together. And again, we're the Robin. So we take from the legal CBD and we help people who cancers and opioid problems and PTSD and whatever it is. You have to pick a cause and start there and move on and expand. Again, it's so we get the community's money in the CSA. I help the farmers with this, trying to figure out the split, and we come through and with profits, we can fund, we raise awareness, we can advocate, and with the mobile lab, and what we do is we come back full circle to the community. So you talk about what are these corporations doing with these dispensaries. I'm talking about borrowing from the community, giving back to the community, and when they are in their greatest time of need, we're there with the band.
Now, one quick question I'm going to ask you, just in this whole idea, I don't want to throw a wrench in it or nothing, but a lot of what we're seeing is the community, that the communities are putting tax rate on top of most of these dispensaries and things like that for their community, whatever they want to put that money towards, right? Is that something that you're willing to work with the community that are in these specific places are within? I mean, everything sounds great. I just see the only issue that you might get some flack on Seagull Mass where all these guys are paying their local community percentage back to their town, 2%. For sales that way everybody's happy. They put in roadways, everything like that. Do you have a plan for that as well?
Well, I don't know if it would be different for him, versus the THC.
True, that's a good point.
Adult use cannabis.
That's a great point.
No, hemp's not going to have to pay that.
So I'm just thinking about that because again, the idea is great. I just want we're having a huge response on the internet. A lot of people are asking these various questions, and that just came up. Community agreements. You know what I mean? Because again, a lot of what some of the structures of the laws are based on these community agreements. You know what I mean? You guys are paying taxes, things like that. And I hate to see a great thing like this be pushed out because there's no arrangements.
Again, Joe, the community host agreements are really for adult use dispensaries, medical dispensaries of high THC, marijuana or whatever. Not for hemp. A hemp collective, I mean, that is something that, you would need a community host agreement. But if you wanted to be a community, put money back into the community, I'm sure the community's going to love it. But it's not going to be a requirement like it is in Massachusetts with those community host agreements we talked about. That really is for the high THC.
And I'd love to go into the market and hit the police station and hit the library and hit the communities and just show them who we are and just tell them what we're about and just dispel some of the myths and move on to the next town. That's all I want to do. I just want to go from town to town to town and just have a little road show and, go in the morning, show the staff how to use the QR codes and the technology, hang out with the customers for a couple hours, whether it's got to be outside with the band and the easy up or inside with a table. And then we do a seminar at night, $20, whatever, help, promote this thing, pay for it. And we teach them how to make edibles and, just do a couple hour thing. And then, boom, hit the road and we're on to the next one. And if I have some support here, growing it and helping the process all together, we can look like and be the biggest. We can move the needle in ways that these huge corporations would never even consider. And we can just a handful of us with a little bit of time, basically my life, in a little bit of time, and we get proof of concept. It works. I'm happy to train the next person to get this to move on. I'm about the entourage. My kid's 11. I'm seeing what's going on. I just lost my dad. I want this thing to live beyond me. I mean, again, I don't care about a Ferrari. Ford's fine. I just want this to live beyond all of us. I want to build a name for Vermont, a name for us, and a way that we can move the needle in a way that people will want. You know, we'll set an example, and maybe some of the dispensaries will say, hey, you know, this is a good thing to do. And if they get the tax write-off, they'll do it. And then we've set an example, and we've helped move the needle.
Right, and hopefully get the dispensaries to help support the cause. I mean, it's going to be, if you guys can attach to the American Cannabis Nurses Association, that's just huge, man. And to have them involved in this is a great plan.
Oh, I absolutely believe in their cause. I believe what Justin's doing is incredible, and her mission with testing, you know, like the full panel testing, you know, like we need in the medical community, these things need to be present. And for the rec user, you were talking about isolates, and yes, for the CBD, yeah, the truck driver, he needs the isolate. On the other side, it's the adult user. And I believe that someday we're going to find some kind of psychosis because we've removed all the regulated, the CBD, when we go straight THC. I believe that's going to be an issue. And I think isolates, and I forgot the name of it, but there is a one-to-one drug that is somewhere in Europe. It's not here, and it was mentioned because the Epilox, and I don't know if it's the same company, but there is a one-to-one overseas somewhere, and I'm willing to bet that it's isolate. And you know, so and that's the other thing. You got to get the word out that hey, you know what? If you have isolates all day, you may run into some issues. So
yeah, we've got a lot. We have Dr. Bob on the show a lot. And he preaches this all the time. He's like, you know, it's all about balance, right? And then you just nailed it right in the head. If you're just taking CBD and CBD and CBD, as much as you're helping yourself, you're throwing it, your system's still off whack, right? I mean, we talk about entourage effect, healing effects, and we talk about, you know, me and Brandon Thomas, we're always talking about other cannabinoid properties that are very valuable to have. The CBD is great, but there's 800 other properties, right? We talk about CBN and all the benefits of everything else that they're finding out with technology right now, even stuff that's just in our root system, right? And it's potentially not even in our buds at a high level. So the entourage effect, again, Dr. Ethan Russo, if you guys want to learn more about the entourage effect, I mean, it literally is pretty much what it sounds like, right? I mean, it's a different high. We talk about a lot when we deal with patients because, you know, you nailed it right in the head. You know, is it this head high? Is it this body euphoria? Is it your elbows tingling or the burn between your eyes? What I think is really wrong in the cannabis industry right now is people are going for these, you know, these PGR weeds that we talk about all the time. They just want these tightest little dankest nugs that you can almost bounce off the floor, but that's not a natural thing, right? I mean, that's pretty much chemically induced in a lot of stages. I mean, not to say you can't get your buds tight growing it and knowing what you're doing, but you know, and when you smoke this weed, you get this flavor, you get this weird break, you know, high. That, you know, when you smoke real weed, and that's probably the other problem, is a lot of people don't have access to weed that isn't this type of weed, right? I mean, we look at a lot of the West Coast weed, and I'm not to pick on West Coast weed, because everybody does it, but typically we see how here's the West Coast weed comes out, you know, it's a few seasons old, it has this smell,
the supply is tainted.
It's so chemicals, yes.
We know We know somebody who works for the government as a botanist, and they're testing the legal supply, and it's full of banned chemicals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know the legal supply. We talk about all the time with Tim and stuff. You know, they're reaching THC numbers of like 8 to 11%. It's literally Mexican brown bud. Do they grow it purposely like that because it's just shit to test, or is it that they don't know how to grow? Which I hate to think because it's a plant, right? I mean, there's so much information out there. It's really hard to fuck up a grow, right?
I never knew how important the grow was. I never had a clue. I wish somebody had told me years ago, that, you know, just don't go touching somebody's weed because it's weed to smoke. And, you know, and think about eating it too. And, you know, now with all these states legalizing and with all these states medical, it's becoming normalcy, which we need to make a federal normalcy. But yeah, that's a key point.
There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the world right now. What I want to do, hopefully we're ready. We have Thomas Markham. We're going to take a quick break here, right, guys, before we come back. We'll finish up here. Don't go anywhere, Eric. We're going to get Thomas Markham up, Vermont Grow Coaching with his his tip this week. As we are trying to progress and streamline this whole thing, we actually have a recorded video. So Thomas, why don't you introduce your tip this week?
All right, so today we just have a quick tip about topping and pinching plants, whether it be for individual cannabis grows or for entire hemp fields. Whenever you're ready, Joe.
Beginner-friendly cannabis tips and tricks. Today, we're down here in Paulet, Vermont. It's a beautiful sunny day in May, and we're in the hemp greenhouse. As you can see behind us, we've got plenty of hemp plants going on. A lot of them look a little bit on the underfed side, so they're going to be fed today and tomorrow. But for the most part, most of these plants are going to be getting ready to go into the ground over the next couple of weeks. We start planting usually Memorial Day weekend and finish usually about the middle of June or so. Today, we're actually going to be talking a little bit about topping and pinching though. For the most part, topping is not usually done on a large-scale form with commercial greenhouses and large-scale hemp farms. However, the way that we like to grow, we always will top our plants, even when planting on large scale. We prefer not to use plastic, not to use planter wheels, and actually to go out hand planting each individual plant in the field. Using this method produces a much healthier, much more organic finished product at the end. Now, with that said, we're going to show you these plants here real quick. The first plant we've got here, this plant has not yet been topped. If you look at the top here, you're going to see it has a nice single branch at the top, one little bit of growth. Now, the reason we top is specifically to allow the plant to stay shorter in stature, bushier in stature, and produce more weight with additional top colas. If you top a plant once or twice, you can go from having one top cola to having 2 or 4 top colas, and keep your plants from being 7 or 8 feet tall, and instead finish at around 4.5 or 5 feet tall, depending on the strain. Now, in the hemp fields, this can be very difficult and daunting, as you can see by the number of hemp plants we have here behind us for a 20-acre parcel. So, with that said, normally we will use scissors in order to top our plants. But in the hemp farm, when you're looking to do large scale, you want to look at getting this done as quickly as possible. So with that said, we're going to be pinching these out with our fingers. So I've gone ahead and sterilized my fingers first. And if you're going to take a look at this first growth here, you're going to see that it's a single growth, but that right here at the base, there are 2 little individual internodes. So those additional branches that are going to come out are going to be your new top colas. So your plant will be pinched right about here. You can see here where this plant has already been pinched about a week ago and already has its 2 new sets of growth. These could actually be pinched again right at the top. Now we do have another example over here. This third plant is actually a plant that was topped incorrectly. So if you look at the top growth on this plant, you'll see that where it was topped, there's only 1 branch as opposed to 2. That's because the person that topped this plant topped slightly too close to the next set of branches and accidentally removed one of those branches. As long as you top in the correct spot, you should have no problem at all having 2 tops emerge from that growth within the next few days. The second step we're going to talk about here is pinching. Pinching is when you take the growth and just give it a little pinch. Pinching along the stem growth until you hear a slight snap is going to allow the insides of the stems to uptake more nutrients throughout the growth cycle. It's also going to strengthen the stem and make it slightly more sturdier and stockier. With that said, you can pinch just about anywhere along the branch. We just encourage that you don't pinch too hard, because if you pinch too hard, you can force the branch to break or split, and can then run into issues such as pest infestation. When you are pinching, in the event that you accidentally pinch too much and you have a plant that's flopping over, you can easily upright it and wrap a small band-aid around it in order to heal the wound. Over the next week or so, you should be able to remove the band-aid and you'll see a little knot where there once was the wound. If you have any questions or concerns regarding anything about topping or pinching or anything grow related at all, please feel free to reach out to Vermont Grow Coaching at vermontgrowcoach.com. You can also reach us on Facebook or Instagram, or contact us directly at 802-342-5381. This has been Tom with Vermont Grow Coaching, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Grower's Guide. Have a great day.
All right, guys, we are back. What a great video. Thank you, Thomas Marco. Another great tip, man. So I love the new video thing. Love it. Anyways, we're having a great show today, guys. We're going to go back to Canna Cares. Now, let's get back to where we were, right? We're talking about what you need to see from the community to make this get pulled off, right? So where would somebody get a hold of you right now to talk to you about, to get more information, and how can they get involved right now?
Right now, you could you can call me. You can call my house, 802-886-2948. My cell phone works for crap, but if you're an Apple person, it's 802-591, 7317. 591-7317. So you can call me at home, 886-2948. You can iMessage me or at 591-7317. Canna Boganics on Facebook. And also there is a Cannabis Cares Instagram. So, and you'll see my wheel on there. And so, yeah, absolutely. What I'm looking for is, because this whole, the world got blown up, I was hoping to have been to a whole bunch of farms and just meet a bunch of you, and there are quite a few of you that I have, but I'd like to sit down with a couple handfuls of people and do a proof of concept with a little bit of flower from each who want to commit, and find the right people, and it has to be the right type of grow, and again, the right type of mindset. And what I want to do is this line here, Cannabis Cares, and basically the after profits, whatever pays to help me get out on the road and do this, that would be like, we'll call it my salary. And then the profits after that, we would split equally, and then there would be what I'm calling an 11 share. So if there's 10 people in it, and everybody gets 9%, and that leaves an 11 share that's going to go towards, or if we can figure out a way that it all goes towards helping people, and figure out a way that we can sustain, that everybody can still make a little bit of money. The CSA, the collective, like all these little key things can help you as the farmer in your market, help you sustain and help you grow, as a farmer, and just kind of marry these things together. And I don't know if it's ever been done before. This has all come to me since I started healing, and it's just weird. Call it, he had a vision. Well, sort of. And the last 2 years, this is kind of what it's come to. And I've taught my third season of growing. I've been processing. I believe that I am a life student, and I believe that there's always something to learn. And this is my purpose. This is me, and this is because of a plan.
Right? No, it's a great story. Now, again, for anybody tuning in right now, if you're a business or you have a company that you want to donate something to help this cause, reach out, man. Because I'm sure you could use some equipment as well to help pull this all off, and some support in that matter, right?
Absolutely. And it really was. I would like to get, like I said, a couple handful of people together and to iron out the basics, and then we'll go ahead and open up a blockchain and put it all out there, and in that way nobody can hide anything. Everybody knows what's going on, and this first season we prove the concept, and then that second season you did 10 pounds, and I went out and I proved it. So now the second season we go up to some weight, and then that van then becomes, I start going mobile. I start going out. I start selling outside of Vermont. I already have trips made out to where I want to go, and I will go the secondary and tertiary market. I don't want to hit the big cities. That's not where I want to be. That's not where right. There are, exactly. So getting my feet wet in this, getting our feet wet, we go out in some places nobody wants to go. And we do things that nobody wants to do. And we're providing services that nobody wants to do because, most of them are in it for this. And again, it's about moving the needle and showing an example. So, quite frankly, I'm not sure. This is it's building. This is organic. And I just want to be the guy known for starting it and the guy for going out there and having the sack to go out there and do this. And once it grows and blows up, I want it to sustain. We'll write this thing up, however, if it needs to be not for profit or whatever it needs to be, we'll write it up legally how it has to go because I want it to stick around forever.
Right? This is something you want to see in every
Eric,
state,
make sure.
not just Vermont.
Eric, make sure once you have more details ready, you're actually ready to sit down and talk with some of these farmers. You reach out to me because I know plenty of smaller farmers, especially the 1 to 2 acre farms that are just interested in growing for the fun of it. For the most part, that would be happy to sit down and actually talk with you and be a part of Cannabis Cares.
Okay, this is awesome. This is what it's going to take, and I'm not a fool. I don't think that we're going to be an overnight success, and I know that there's a huge possibility of failure. But because of my healing and because of who I've become, I'm okay with failure. I'm okay to face that. I'm you know what? It's okay. I'm not afraid of it. So,
well, I believe in karma, and you keep mentioning people over money. I'm the same way. People over money. So in that sense, you keep your head down, you keep working, and you keep focusing on what you believe in, and it's going to happen.
Absolutely, I believe in that now.
I mean, it's a great plan. It's a great idea. I think it's something that everybody should be involved with, even if, like you said, if it's just a small portion of the corner of your lot. I mean, there's so many people out there giving away strains, they're giving away medicine, they're helping people out, FICO, Rick Simpson oil, and a lot of this stuff isn't easy or cheap to attain in most cases. But we're doing it for the people. We're fighting cancer. We're saving lives, and a lot of people don't realize that outside the cannabis industry how many lives have been saved by this plant, right? Because they see the stigmas, they think we're going to die. They see the old ads on TV where this is your brain on drugs. And even though we're just talking about cannabis, they still associate these idealistics to cannabis. You know what I mean? I see it all the time. We still are fighting that stigma battle. Now, for you personally, one thing I want to talk to you about, and we'll go to Tim Fair here right after this, and we'll talk about some laws and some things going on in the world. But I want to go back to the Lyme issue. You know what I mean? We don't get a chance to bring on a lot of people that actually are patients that have fought and survived, and they actually have, a lot of the patients that we talk to have a great story, right? They've been through a lot. And it's very hard for people to talk about their battles. So
it's a struggle.
Right, and we have so many people that we see in our circles that are right now. It seems like Lyme is something that is really affecting America in ways that we see the tick issues. We have high levels of ticks. I've already taken a couple off my dogs this year. We're not even in summertime yet, so this is a big issue that people need to learn about, and especially because like you said, there's a lot of disbelief in the medical system about Lyme. Correct? I mean, not a lot of people think that Lyme is what we think it is, right?
I had a tick pulled off. It was engorged, 20-something years ago, and the doctor said, absolutely, there's no way you'll ever get anything from it. It can't happen. And when I was getting sick in the aughts, starting in the early aughts and going to the ER and having issue, and my Lyme doc thinks that the babesia was part of I was getting atrial fib. And I haven't, since I started healing. And so there's, man, Lyme disease is, at one point, it got to a point where it's like, if this is how I'm going to have to live, like, it was bad. And, but here I am, at least 2 years later, and fuck, like that that lyme, man, it will eat your soul. You get phantom pains. It depresses the hell out of you because you can't move, you got no energy. But like, there's times that shit, it takes over you. I think it takes over. I really believe it takes over who you are. I think it takes over your spirit, man. I really do. I think it's, here was a guy a few years ago that I'm thinking if this doesn't end, I might have to think about, shit I don't want it. And it was it was really difficult. And my family, if it wasn't for my family, and they were, I wake up and my face is paralyzed. And it's like, and I'm trying to get into the Lyme specialist, and they're 6 weeks out. Mm-hmm. And so finally when I call them, my face is paralyzed. I said, oh, okay, come on in. Well, even the doctors didn't want to talk to me about it. And then, like, if I wanted to go to Dartmouth, it was weeks, it was just a long time out. We need some kind of support, because people, you think you're going crazy. You think that, and then for a while I thought I had a stroke. I thought it was asymptomatic at first, and then, the face went, and so I wrote a list of my symptoms, and I double spaced on the legal yellow pads. I filled 3.5 pages of my symptoms, because I was just remembering how it started. It just started with those backaches, and then that was in March, and then my light and sound sensitivity. I had to ask my girls to eat with plastic utensils. I could not go to 4th of July. The light was instant headache. The sound, it's that when you wake up after drinking as hard as you could and you were dehydrated, and that when you wake up, like, you get woken up by something, and that it just, like, your head feels like a pumice stone. Sound would do that to me. So it was, I want to use the word debilitating, and when I look back, it was a struggle. And Rogan's been a huge influence on me, along with Goggins, and there's a handful of people. And putting my struggle in front of me has probably been the biggest thing to keep me healthy. And growing cannabis, having to get up at 5:30 in the morning that first year changed me too, because when I kept getting up at 5:30, the weight started coming off. I started eating it, I started feeling better, and there's something about being around 350 plants in this greenhouse, and it was like a stuffed clone box. It was spiritual. Yeah.
We're talking about that for the veterans too, like the PTSD veterans that struggle within their own heads about the release it gives them to go out and be. When we talk about it right now, it's not even just weed; it's just being, like you said, it's getting out and touching nature, man. Yep. Getting some sun, getting some vitamin D, man. Like right now, we talk about COVID, and everybody's locked in their houses. We need to be getting some sun. Go out for a hike. Yeah. Get in the woods, get your feet, touch the grass, create that energy between you and earth, right? Because your body will do amazing things and respond in amazing ways. For a long time, I used to laugh at people that thought this, but then, now we deal with herbalists and we deal with these spiritual people, and we really see these benefits work. Then we bring the cannabis idea. Now, the thing I wanted to ask you, I think we really touched base about earlier was, the story is remarkable, man, and everybody that has to go through this, our hearts are with you guys. There's two things I wanted to talk to you about. What was your reception in your medical community that you're dealing with to using the cannabis? And then second of all, how did you intake your cannabis that was really effective for you? Because we talk about that a lot. We talk about people smoking it, we talk about people ingesting it. We had Dr. Bob on, and Dr. Bob is eat raw cannabis cannabis. You know what I mean? And in each form, it has its own value. You're talking about the weight coming off. Like, I agree with you there. That's a huge stigma that needs to be crushed as well. We're seeing some athletes, some of the fittest people in the world, smoke cannabis. I'm down probably 60 pounds in weight, smoking cannabis and just changing my diet around. To the point where everyone's like, "Hey, are you sick or not?" I literally just set up on a schedule. I don't sleep, but that's beside the point. That's my one.
I've been asked that so many times. Are you sick?
Right, but we see this a lot with people that are smoking cannabis and using cannabis on a regular basis, that the weight actually comes off. It's an appetite suppressant, right? Yes, it gives some people the munchies. You know what I mean? I think that's like the young introduction to cannabis. Your body just isn't used to it, so it's requiring the food to ignite those receptors. You know what I mean? It's a healing process that your body's asking for.
Joe, you just got to make those healthy munchies. That's all. I mean, I did the same thing. I was 296 pounds when I topped out. And between changing my diet and using medical cannabis, I level out at around 170 now. Even if I have a rough week and drink quite a bit, I may go up a few pounds, but as soon as I stop for a weekend, it drops right back off. And I level right out. I feel healthy. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day. I go to bed at 11 p.m. every night. 6 hours of sleep is all I need. I'm in my 30s. I have 4 kids, and I feel energetic every day. What's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. I feel as healthy as I've ever been. I feel healthier than I was as a teenager.
Yeah, I'm at that point now, right now. Yeah, I'm there with you too, brother. Like, listen to these guys talk about what you ingest. Like, McDonald's is not food. You know what I mean?
No.
Does it mean you can't eat a hamburger? Fuck no. There's great hamburger out there that your body's gonna love, right? It just doesn't have to be processed. You know what I mean? It can be fed well. It can intake good things that that nature's abundant of. Vegetables.
Have an acre, grow a cow.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's just I think we're taking the lazy way out in our culture nowadays. I mean, literally, they have pre-made everything for you, like everything. You can go buy a pre-made fucking chocolate milk. Like, what? Like, you can make that. You know what I mean? But our culture has become so lazy that we don't want to exert any energy into that, which is where I think that this COVID-19 thing is actually kind of been remarkable, because we're seeing people going outside. We're seeing people like, hey, I need something to do now, because fuck, they're sick of sitting at home, right? Anyways, back to the what's that?
We talk about the processed food.
Yes.
I was working produce for a little while at my local grocery store, and I'm just blown away by the amount of how many people just walk by the produce section. They don't even touch it. And the people that come in, it's potatoes and onions and iceberg lettuce, which we refer to as, we called it crispy water in the produce department.
That's what it is. Yep.
People, they're not aware. Not only are they not aware, they don't know when stuff is ripe. They don't know how to cook it. And then like with broccoli, well, you can steam it, you can bake it, you can eat it raw. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to make everything. So people, they have one experience. They're like, I'll never touch that again. Or it's like, or avocados. The ripe window is this big,
Right.
And so people need to be aware of these things, and by eating, and they need to be aware that by eating live food gives you life. Eating dead food, well, what can I say? It's that processed food, because once again, the fiber's been removed, or they add it back in. The minerals and vitamins have been removed, but they add them back in, and that's all to sustain shelf life. That's it. I know a lot about the grocery business. There are now conventions where it's about food additives. That's what a convention is all about. So the people from McDonald's, they walk these conventions and they talk to scientists on how to make their stuff preserve and last. It's all about, unfortunately it is. It's all about shelf life, because more turns, that bottom line. And part of doing this, and part of talking about those 5 pillars and finding a nice presentation to put together that I can do, some spiel to people, I can at least plant that seed with people. And I think that is so key, because by eating those micronutrients, your body has the ability to fight, and to because the body is innate. Once you feed the body, it's the proper nutrition, the body will fight. It'll fight cancer. It'll fight just about anything, right? But if
Sure.
we continue to feed the body processed food, right? Again, the belly's full, but the body's starving. So there's no
Right.
nutrition. You know, it's just and it snowballs. And I know from just quarantine, going out in the morning. What am I going to do? I go out and I get a sugary treat. I was getting coffee, and my brain was turning into that stuff. I was becoming addicted again. And like it's a physical thing, man. And caffeine is the worst addiction. They say, "Oh, you get addicted to cannabis." No, you don't. No, you don't. You get addicted to caffeine. You get addicted to nicotine. You get addicted to alcohol, right? Drink a liter of 80 proof booze every day for years, and then go cold turkey and see what happens, right?
Right.
Do that with cigarettes and see what happens. Unfortunately, I think it coats. I just watched my dad pass from lung cancer. He smoked, he would joke that, oh yeah, I got this Marlboro jacket, and I gave him my lung, collect the little tops. And I think like he stopped smoking, and I think like that the glue held them together. I really do. Anyway. The processed food is we all know it. We know it, and I guess if people can just try to pull some of that out of the diet, and it's so expensive. Calories from fresh fruit, vegetable, nuts, seeds, and legumes is almost for the rich. It really is. Our largest number one bill in this house is not rent. It's not a car payment. It is food by far. Because I like to make green juices, which some of the fiber does come out, but I eat enough fiber. I eat a lot of vegetables, fruit, nuts, seeds, legumes, and I eat a little bit of meat and a tiny amount of dairy. And I believe at near 50 years old, that's how I've kept my youth. And then with the cannabis, like I think the entourage is all those things together. And like I said earlier, I don't have all those 5 pillars down, but I've got the remainder of my life to at least when I stumble to know to go back to those. And yes, so food is so important. And I just saw right from the front lines how people they're not aware.
Mm-hmm. No, it's the education is surprising because there's a lot of misunderstanding, and there's a lot of assumptions being made that people are basing their livelihoods on, whether it's financial or even in a arrest, putting themselves in a position where they could get arrested and put in jail because they tried to cut a corner or didn't read the law right, or I read about a bus recently where it was a 7-pound bus, and the guy thought he was legal to still have 7 pounds in his house, and you're like, you know what I mean? Nowhere in the countries like that. So it really is about the education, and then even more so about the education, the separation from the medical and the rec world, because as we talk all the time, you're going to get high, go get high, but that weed that you're going to go get high off of is not what we want to see in our medical fields, right? Mm-hmm. Go get high. Go use that process. Go use that butane oil extract, which we're seeing blowing up buildings in California, right? Which we're going to talk about here in a second with Tim, because you're trying to cheat the system, right? That's not medicine. Like when we talk about medicine, what we all stand for, we're looking for the cannabinoids, we're looking for the entourage effect, we're looking for the products like we're talking. We're looking for fresh pressed rosin. We're looking for a bubble hash type of a product, right? I mean, stuff that really keeps those endocannabinoids within whatever material you're producing there, right? That way, that's real medicine. When somebody goes out to the store and buys a cart, guys, let's educate you guys on carts. If you haven't learned enough in the last 2 years or a year about how bad carts are for you, what little they give you, I mean, great, you get distillate oil that you're burning off, right? But now we're burning off oils. We have a product that doesn't have many cannabinoids in it. Who knows what kind of quality it is, because we don't have a regulated market. And we're seeing all these issues, and then we saw the acetate become a huge issue, right? Where people die. You've never had death from cannabis. We still don't technically have a death from cannabis, but we have deaths from acetates because people are fucking lazy or cheap or want to cut a corner, right? Or they're knowingly producing a bad product to put out there. This is where the regulations need to come in. This is where we need that regulation, especially on the medical side. We talk about all the time. Tim's there. We're all shaking our heads here. Now, on that note, let's talk to Tim. We're going to slide right over to Tim here.
How's it going, Joe?
He's back. Let's Good. I want to slide over you real quick, Tim. We're watching the clock, so I want to make sure we get everybody on board here. We're trying to work a few things out for the show. Now, we talked about the card market. Yeah, right. We talked about the card market. It's still amazingly still there. People are still risking issues with cards, so that's a whole other topic. But
in and of itself is not necessarily a bad idea with a pure product and a non-adulterated product and one with no vitamin acetate in it and one that's designed with quality components within the heating unit. But there is a lot that could go wrong. There is a lot of opportunity for greed to rear its ugly head, and instead of getting high quality fabrication pieces, you're getting cheap pieces from China where mercury or heavy metals are flaking off into it, or they're cutting it with the acetate to make it look thicker. These are the problems. The cannabis oil itself, hey, people want to choose to vape, that's fine, but it's a lack of regulation. And as we saw, the explosion over you were talking about in LA with the factory.
Yeah, I mean that's huge, man. Like that's a big.
That's gives the industry a bad name, because some chemical manufacturing warehouse was improperly storing butane, resulting in an explosion. It then gives prohibitionists and everybody else an opportunity to stand up and blame that on cannabis, like as a plant.
Facts.
But it also brings up this whole butane issue again. Is it a substance that we should be using? Is it a product that people should be smoking afterwards? I mean, a lot of these products are very clean and they do a great job as long as you off gas properly, right? You get the gas out of it. A lot of people cut that out too because it's another time process, right? Or hey, it gives their car a little kick because they used a little ethanol in their extraction and it's still the alcohol's still there. Boom, there's your forehead kick. You know what I mean? And we have the best car in the market. All the guys love it, right? It gets you high, But again, we talk about medicine sometimes. The other thing I want to talk about.
I would recommend it.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's why I say there's these weird industries out there in minds of fuck because people are like, I just want to get high. I don't fucking care if it fixes my elbow or makes me feel better or helps me lose weight or takes care of my head. I just want to get fucking high to forget my problems. And this is like the alcohol addiction syndromes that we see. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Can people get addicted to cannabis? I think so. I think it's a mental thing more than it's a physical thing. Like I said, like you're not going to be
can I
shaking and quivering and sweating out and need a 2-week recovery period.
Listen,
sure.
You hear the stories how the Eskimos have 26 words for snow because there's so many different types of snow. Addiction is one of those words. We need 26 different words to fully explain what addiction is because one can be addicted to chocolate. One can be addicted to McDonald's and salt, sodium, sugar, tobacco, alcohol, heroin. These are all very, very different relationships.
Yeah.
Cravings versus the DTs of hardcore alcoholism, like I was talking about, or dying of respiratory failure from heroin withdrawal. So is there a mental desire where it is difficult to stop using cannabis? Sure. Especially for people that have underlying issues that can manifest itself in a way. Is that an addiction the same as somebody who needs to intravenously inject bags of heroin every day? I would argue they're not even on the same world in terms of concepts. There are people who are into running and have ruined their feet, and that's a healthy activity. Anything done in excess is going to cause problems, and you can use that term addiction, but I think that really needs to be defined because I do not view cannabis addiction as I would alcohol addiction or even cigarette tobacco addiction. They're all very different relationships.
Well, and like you said, that there's 26 different terms. I believe probably what we're looking for is dependency versus addiction. Where you're dependent on.
Yeah.
And if you go away from it, you might be irritable, but it's not going to hurt you. Where when you're dependent on the heroin or the alcohol, where it's going to physically hurt you, that's where personally I look at those two. And maybe because I'm biased towards cannabis, and I always have been.
No, I agree with you, and I believe that there are people that say there's an addiction there. You know what? I like to smoke weed.
You can say anything people like.
I'm addicted to the bubble gum. I'm addicted to toothpicks. All right, I'm addicted to caffeine. I'll admit I have a caffeine addiction. That's probably one of my other, between blunts and high levels of caffeine. Those are probably my two unhealthiest things in my life. Like I said, to the people that have a crutch out there, you don't need to be perfect in all 5 categories. We're allowed to have something that we enjoy, right, in our life. But let's
just get back to them. Just go back to those 5 pillars.
Yeah.
You
or adjust
go
it.
away from it. Yeah.
Right.
You course correct your whole life. You learn new things. We learn new things. There's new science that comes out. And we learn we learn sometimes that things are being told were correct. And so, yeah, it always, absolutely.
That's why I say, I don't care what addiction you have, it all starts within yourself. Whether it's a work addiction, a sex addiction, a drug addiction, a gambling addiction, you know what I mean? They're all out there, and they're real things. But,
it starts with yourself.
It starts with yourself, man, right? And here we are in lockdown where a lot of people are really upset, really scared. They're still, there's people freaking out, man. I'm living my life happy. Get the sun, get outside.
I'd like to say this. You talk about mental health, right? So I told you that the cannabis gave me introspection. Actually led me, and it sucks because of this, I can't go, led me to start mental health counseling. And it allowed me to deal with the abandoned and all the other things. So it's allowed me to dig in there. And it's a process. And I've gotten way better at it. And it's because we are all our own worst enemy. Every single one of us. There's a voice that is limiting beliefs. We all have a limiting belief. Every one of us. And like I tell you, when I was working with these young kids, I'm like, hey, because we hear them bickering, like, look, everybody on this planet is capable of incredible things. Everybody's also capable of being an ass for a few minutes.
Right, no, everybody is. No, it's true. This is a huge thing that we need to talk about. And we talk about cannabis, how it helps you. Me and you've had some pretty personal conversations over the last few months where I can do nothing but agree with you. Cannabis gives you that spirituality to literally, it really, when we all talk about looking at ourselves, it all starts with us. Really, the first thing you have to do is literally look at yourself in the mirror and look at yourself and what you're doing wrong in your life and go from there. I want to get back to this, but I got to get Timothy done here because he's got a roll. I got one question I want to ask Tim before you head down.
I'm sorry, man.
No, we appreciate your time, Tim. We don't want to push over. But there's one thing I've been dying to ask you. I don't know if you've seen this yet. It was just published 9 hours ago. We were talking about this last week. The last couple of shows was about how the USDA was talking about giving benefits to hemp farmers after the coronavirus, right? Apparently, they just denied it. We saw the article. So basically, the USDA denies coronavirus benefits for hemp farmers, but later seems to reverse revolutionary block. So there's a big change side, guys. Look this up. It's a marijuana movement.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. Again, hemp is after the 2418 Farm Bill, is a legal agricultural commodity. So to me, to deny an agriculture loan to a hemp farmer simply because they're growing hemp in and of itself, that seems very problematic from a legal perspective. Unfortunately, I have not seen that article yet, so I'm going to need to see we're done here. I'll probably take notes.
Check it out, guys, especially if you're in the hemp industry, because we were hoping to get some coronavirus relief for you guys, being that you're in business. We're a legal business, right? But the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced on Tuesday that hemp growers are specifically ineligible for coronavirus relief program that are running. And now we know there's another huge package coming out. This is not good news for our industry. This really could put a big damper on a lot of farms, man. I mean, there's people struggling right now. As we talked about, the whole market right now is kind of oversaturated, and farms are failing because they don't have the outlet of this product. And when we do get this outlet, it's at such a saturated market that they're not making any money off of it. Guys, look into this. That's all we gotta say.
I know a lot of farmers, Joe. I know a lot of farmers are going to be extremely upset, especially in Vermont, about hearing about USDA making that decision about the.
Well, we literally talked about last week. The Arkansas hemp market lost almost $29 million because of flooding, because of crop issues. Now, these are issues that are out of our control. Not to put on the mold issues and the chemical issues they had from leaching and just the environment's going on with that right there. But $29 million was lost in that hemp business in one state, guys. So, federal funding, federal backing, insurance, these are things that we really need to have for these businesses because they are no different. Like Tim says, they are legal businesses to operate, to sell, to cultivate, to produce, to do whatever they need to do to get that market to that product to a shelf. And now we don't offer them banking, we don't offer them insurance, and now we're not going to offer coronavirus relief. But the bar down the street.
I found the article you're talking about here, Joe, with marijuana moment. And interestingly enough, they rescinded the language that specifically banned hemp within hours of a press release. So, I think that somebody probably realized it may be problematic from a legal perspective. So, right now the SBA disaster loans are limited to agricultural operations and businesses only. We're certainly recommending our clients that they proceed with those. So, if anybody, you guys out there, knows somebody who's a hemp farmer who has gotten denied one of these loans, please have them call. This is something we could potentially have a really solid legal challenge on. This is an agricultural commodity that you are singling out. That is illegal. That is a violation of your constitutional rights. And that absolutely is a due process issue. So if somebody is denied a disaster loan, if anybody, Eric, Tom, any of you guys know anybody who actually was harmed, who did apply and was specifically denied because of this, please have them give us a call. I can't guarantee help, but I would love to talk to them, get the facts, and see if there is something we do.
Awesome.
Thank you as always, and I'll see you next week.
Great. Thank you for answering that question for us, Tim.
Thank you.
Bye, Tim. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. So we have a couple more minutes here. That's a huge news right there. I saw that earlier. I've been itching to talk to Tim about it and see how it's going to affect our hemp industry because, again, it's an agricultural commodity. We place it within agriculture throughout the country with a farm bill. So, insane stuff. Brandon.
Yes, sir.
What are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Strains to discuss this week, or do we
strains?
Find ourselves way too over busy?
I'm going to be real honest. We've been a little bit overbooked this week. But if you want to talk to me about strains of cannabis, I will be more than happy to talk to you about some strains of cannabis. My goodness.
Let's not talk about strains this week. I kind of hit a point on it earlier. I think Eric and all of us would love to hear about this. Right now, you're working with a patient, right? You're working with a patient. You're developing a product.
Yep.
Explain to us, the patient, why you developed a certain product the way you did for this patient, and just to explain to us some of the things that you're working on with her right now.
Okay. I'm going to leave out a lot of specifics, but I'll give you all the pertinent information. The current patient that I'm working with right now is an amazing person, and she is at a point where she is battling stage 4 cancer. It was originally within her digestive system and colon, and it has metastasized and moved to her lungs and has spread a little bit. She is right now receiving the best care possible, and I mean that sincerely because this woman has been through some amazing things. Clinics, doctors, chemotherapy, hospitals after state after, just everywhere around the U.S., okay? And the thing that's giving her the most relief was cannabis. So, when I got brought into this picture, after getting all the information that I had, I basically made an assessment because, this anybody that knows me knows that this is not my first rodeo. I do this all the time. I deal with many different people, some high profile, and some just everyday regular people as well. It's a very broad spectrum, and I found a solution that I really feel will work. And what that solution is right now is a 2-to-1. And it's a tincture, it's a spray, and it's 1,000 milligrams full spectrum CBD, and it's 2,000 milligrams THC. So this 2-to-1 that's developed will be, it's going to be pretty revolutionary, because I know that the math is pretty close, but we're talking about 70 grams basically in one spray, and that 50 sprays per bottle in the 30 mils that we have. And now there have been test bottles, okay? We do have a development of product that's actually here. And this one currently right here is a 6. So this is 500 milligrams of full spectrum CBD and 100 milligrams of THC. And she was getting a very good result from that. As a matter of fact, the first time that she used that product, which was about 3 days ago, was one of the first days that she slept comfortably through the night, and probably who knows how long of this battle, this journey that she's been on. This has led us to really, not only embrace this situation, but to look at it from a completely different standpoint. So now this patient is starting as of next week, when they receive the new serum, the new tincture, is going to literally start to do a full documentary of everything. She's going to literally document her whole entire process from that point out, because she feels at this point that she is on the up and up. And I definitely agree with that statement. Now that there is a really good cannabis base that's been infused into what's happening, I think that they're going to see maximum results. She's on a very strict diet, a very strict vitamin regimen, a ridiculous amount of pills still at this point, clearly, because this is the beginning of the recovery effort. But having said that, I'm very proud to be involved, if you will, with the patients and the clinic and the doctor. I mean, I have access to everybody. I have access to the patients. I have access to the clinic. I have access to the doctors. They're talking to me. I'm looking at blood results. I'm looking at everything that I have access to, every piece of information I possibly can. And normally that is not the case. Normally, it's kind of like you hunt for these things and you hope for the best. But having that type of information has what's given me the ability to be able to develop these products. And this is kind of be like maybe this could be the new segment. This will kind of be like our ongoing thing, because, I'm literally going to be working with her on a regular basis, back and forth. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated on all that.
We should do a video. We should do like a video diary of hers, and just the week we go over your diary.
Well, yeah, and she's like I said, she's literally gonna do she's gonna literally do a whole vlog. So, we could even break it down into little, maybe like 5-minute segments where we even feature it on our show. And
that's something that we need to do to get people out there. Because now you're talking about a patient that was stage 4, right?
Yep.
They gave her time, right? They told her, you got the X amount of time, we can't do anything for you. Now she's turned to cannabis. Now, is this a patient that's used cannabis prior, or is this something that she's never tried before?
So now briefly, but it's funny that you should ask that, Joe. And the reason that is because she is originally from Atlanta, Georgia. And right now, currently in Atlanta, Georgia, there is no regulated cannabis system, medical or recreational. So those type of values for a patient are not available. I mean, they don't have access to that type of medicine, which is one of the main reasons why she is in Arizona currently right now.
This is why we talk about should we be federally regulated on the medicinal side of cannabis. Now we're seeing patients that have to go to other states and move their whole livelihood, their families, and everything just to live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here's a patient that's a stage 4 patient. It's kind of like Eric, where you get to a point where your doctors are just, they're kind of half giving up on you. They're just pumping you full of drugs to help you live out what they consider your final days, right, or the rest of your life. Or they're just using you as a guinea pig and throwing drugs at you to see what actually benefits. Which, like Eric was saying, it fucks with your head, dude. When I had a head injury, I personally had a bad head injury, and my stomach was a mess. This is why I smoke a lot of cannabis, because I have stomach issues. It doesn't make me hungry. It makes my stomach mellow again, right? My doctor 20 years ago said do cannabis, but before he did that, he put me on 12 different drugs. And one was for my head, and the other 10 were for the side effects of all the other drugs that they're giving me, to the point where I couldn't stand up. Back then, we weren't talking about cannabis on the medical level at all. They were giving me cardiac mass. I was like, no way. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're on that list. Everybody's afraid to be on a list now. You know what I mean? That's the thing that we have issues with cannabis. Part of the issues, right? We talked about. Now you're on a list, and you have to worry about your town submitting that list to the government for knowledge of who's taking cannabis.
I mean, you know what? At this point, and I fully understand that, but I'm done with the nostalgia around all these things. I'm done with all of that because I have seen so much progress that I don't even, and these are... I hate to admit this, but these are conversations I'm still forced to have with people. I'm literally sitting there.
Still there.
And Brandon, I got to tell you, in February, I went with my dad. I spent the last 6 days and nights with him. I was bedside 24/7, and the last 4 nights we were in a hospital. Wonderful people, beautiful building. In the Chicago area, and the people were wonderful, the majority of them. But the system. So here's a man with stage 4B lung cancer, and they're wanting to give him radiation. And we heard the guy next door who we heard the outcome. And
it's not good for somebody's. It really takes a toll on your health, and when you're at that level of cancer, that's not something that's going to benefit you by any means.
No, it was scary. I left that because the last 2 nights we were in hospice, and I gotta say the way that we were treated, not just him but me, we were treated. Was the way you should be treated if you go in there with a broken bone or a fever or whatever.
I fully understand.
Here's a dying man, and it's 10 o'clock, you would wake him up. It's midnight, they wake him up. It's 2 o'clock, they wake him up. Every time, it's name and birthday. And here's a dying man, and they want, and I understand why. But it's indignant. So you just let me scan your barcode. Give me your name and birthday so I can give you this pill or I can take the blood pressure. And again, I understand why they have to do it. On the last 2 nights, after talking to the doctors, I finally got them to back off and just leave us be and let him sleep. And it was great because he got to rest and he got to make a decision because the other type of therapy, the immunotherapy, he was still on the table. That was still an option.
Right.
And I talked to him. He had enough strength to talk to him. He decided to hospice. And the oncologist came in an hour later. Hey, you're not eligible. And it was wonderful that I believe had they been going in and waking him up, that we would have never had that conversation. And and I just got to help him of its own accord. And this system, swear to God, on the way home, I was so scared of the system than this virus. And, now we're seeing some things with the vents, and, if you've seen the doc saying, and there's a high percentage, and if you watch Rogan, with Michael Yo and his doc and some other things, that you don't want to be on vents. You want like ACAP and BCAP, right? That's where you want to be, because it's, as we're finding out, it's not pulmonary, it's vascular. And, so there's a whole bunch of science.
People to breathe. The ventilators are forcing people to breathe when they don't need help breathing, so it's not helping. We see a lot of these hospitals are not letting these patients be on ventilators now.
Yeah, because the ventilator forces the air, which is basically crushing the capillaries, is what they're seeing. Okay, so what's happening is then there's an overflood of basically the lungs, and then these people are basically drowning to death. Okay. And Eric, to touch on what you're saying, and I'm sure you already know this, but this is the harsh reality that maybe somebody out there really needs to hear. And that's the fact that there's a lot of money in people dying. There's a lot of money in it.
I had a nurse come to me in the middle of the night, and she told me, the way the laws were in Indiana, that I was automatically his health proxy. And thank God. She said, thank God you're here. And, because I got to talking with him. And my dad was just this, he was this personality. I mean, the dude drove to Central America in a freaking a Geo Metro. This guy was about the journey. But he makes everybody laugh. He had a great time. And so the nurses, I don't know if they felt compelled or whatever. They were like, thank God you're here, because he's fodder. And they would have radiated him. He had a port. I didn't even know. Like, I learned this stuff February 7th. And I think he hid it from everybody. And then I drive out there, and, anyway, so here's this, the port, and it's just like they want to pump him full. And so thank God I was there, but I got to see it firsthand. And it's just like those options when he was stronger, maybe. But yeah, they wanted every last dollar out of him. And I saw it, because he's Medicare, Medicaid, and was. And so I saw it, and I did not feel any ill will towards anybody. Well, the one woman. And Dr. Quackenbush is mad, is going to be upset that you're not coming in for radiation after you did 5 times in a day and a half. No. She tried to pressure him. It was like a freaking car salesman. Outside of her, everybody else was wonderful. I mean, people really were. Although one doctor did come in, and he was talking to my dad, whose name was Norman, about another patient's name was Norman, and he talked to him for a good 10 minutes before he realized, because he was giving my dad some crap, before he realized he had the wrong guy. But outside of those incidents, like, the people were great. It's the system, the way that the system is set up. It's just indignant to anybody who's in that later stage of cancer. And this gave me, on the way home, gave me another idea that I want to add end-of-life service to Cannabis Cares. We have a trailer and a van. And this would be the dream, that the van is the RV, the trailer is the lab. And whomever it is, wherever they are, they need us. Right? This all costs money. If we could get insurance to pay us, that would be wonderful. And we show up, and and if I could have these rigs with, say what the dream would be to have one of these rigs with each of the nurses associations, regions. And again, I think there's 8 or so of them. And I took an introductory class to it, and it's something I believe in. It's something I want to become a part of. But how great would it be for them to be able to pull up to the property, have a place to live, to do their work, have a trailer, to be able to have, to be able to make the meds, take care of the patient, come back to the van, not have to leave the property, be legal, to have everything on board, and this is my dream. This is part of the dream, and it was from watching my dad die. It was because of that.
Now, the question I have, I mean, we talk about a lot of us in this industry, we do it because we care, right? We're doing it because we're trying to save lives. We do it because it gives us something back to ourselves, right? We're helping our people. Now, I think when you go to nursing, the whole nursing industry, or you become a doctor, or anything like that, that's your main goal, right? But we're talking about end of life. These people are seeing deaths like we can't imagine, right? So they must become numb to this. So we hope that these guys use their heart and make a decision, but 9 times out of 10, they're playing the numbers game, right? You know what I mean? 80% of people die, and they'll tell you the percentages. Oh, you get this percentage, this percentage, and it's usually a lose percentage, right? And when you get to that point, that's when you start to see like they don't care. You know what I mean? Like you said, it becomes the numbers game. That's a problem with our industry, right? We're getting messages now about from multiple people that have watched parents die because of this exact same situation. You know what I mean? And then you begin to look at the medical community. We talk about this all the time on the show. We still have a medical community that has not caught up with the day and age that we're in right now. We still have stereotypes. We still have stigmas. We still have doctors that are, we talked about the American Cannabis Nurses Association, right? They still have a lot of stigma that they're trying to overcome. You know what I mean? We talk about Jessalyn Dolan, who's doing great things in Vermont, who used to be part of this show, but she's so busy right now, battling those front lines, playing 7 doctors in 7 different drapes, you know what I mean, in 7 different areas, trying to help people. I mean, she can't be on the show, but she's one of the only ones that are willing to step out of that stigma as a doctor and put their name on the line, saying, "I support what cannabis is doing, and this is why," and stand behind it and believe in it. Again, we talk about this all the time. We laugh. We talk about our show and like our numbers, and a great example. Last week we had over 35,000 people on our page. We have 2,000 people that like our page. So that just tells you right there, to me, that there's still a stigma out there that somebody's afraid to hit that support button for the pages that they are interacting with every day. They're coming to us for education, but because of their job or because of whoever's watching them in Facebook land, because it is an issue. Like there's companies that will go on your Facebook and hold whatever you do on your Facebook against you. I can understand that. Some cases. It
happened to me. Yeah, I had a friend who I wanted to send some CBD, and I took a picture of the flower and I posted it, and and they were afraid of the repercussion. One of them had a union job and it makes really good money. It's his career, and they were afraid, and it was before the 2018 ruling, and it was kind of sad that's America.
Well, fortunately, a lot of us have lived in this culture now. I mean, until recently on the East Coast for us. I mean, the West Coast, it's been a culture that's changed, 10 years ago. For us, I mean, let's talk about this for a minute. I used to have this joke all the time years back when I was in my teenage years. Everybody smokes weed, right? This was my big thing. Everybody smokes weed. It just depends on how much you're willing to admit it. Because I knew doctors, lawyers, police officers, preachers, very high-level people in whatever jobs they hold that smoke cannabis to get by, but you never know. You know what I mean? They're very quiet about it. We've been hiding it for years. A, because we don't want to get arrested. A, 2, we don't want our shit to get confiscated. We got a on us. I'm not going to go outside and smoke it so a cop can come get it. And lose my weed, you know what I mean? The only place that anybody ever wanted to smoke weed was at a concert where there was like, okay, there's 10,000 of us and there's 5 cops. They're not taking us all down. Smoke weed, you know what I mean? Whereas like the only thing that was permissibly allowable, dude, I'm not gonna lie, we went saw Snoop Dogg last year, right? In New Hampshire, where it's not legal, right? Here comes Snoop Dogg, right? So everybody was worried about cannabis. The night before, there was a country artist where they went through and busted everybody for cannabis out of the parking lots, busting people left and right? We get the Snoop Dogg, we're worried about it. We go in there, we don't bring anything with us, right? We don't need to get in trouble, right? We don't want to lose our product more than anything. I'd rather get back to the car and have it than not have it at all, right? Dude, there's nothing a group of cops can do with 10,000 people light up a fucking joint at the same time.
Well, you posted the other day, like, well, where's the weirdest place, the coolest place you smoke? And I went to go see Dream Theater. This was in Kansas City at the Uptown Theater. It's an old theater. And my buddy Matt and we had to sneak upstairs in the projector. We figured out it was the projector. We just kept going up the stairs. The door was open, and a bunch of other people came in. And we were just, doing hits and getting ripped. And it was awesome. But it's like we had to hide. But the Coopers down the road, the head shop, there used to be a sign on the door that said, if it rhymes with Chong, it must be wrong. So if you said bong, you got thrown out. Like,
that's how it used to be.
That is a fact. You're right.
The old underground glass shops.
It's a water pipe. It's not a bong.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and we have it here now. And even with sales nowadays, like, you know, in some states you can't say, hey, you know, how much for that? You know, it's a gift. You know, the only way you can do it legally. So it's funny how the wording continues, but it's true. I mean, we still have to get over the fact that, I mean, in my era, I've always been around cannabis, so I don't get to see a lot of the prohibitionist side of the people that have never forbidden cannabis because, or their thought process on it. I mean, I understand it. I understand the stigmas, but at this day and age, there's no reason why our medical community can't catch up to what is going on in the world, or be more open-minded to the fact that, hey, this is a product that can work. But you said it, all you guys have said it. Unfortunately, it's the other green that is the concern. You know what I mean? They're getting back-end deals, they're getting kickbacks, they're getting, you know, the more prescriptions they can write and stuff you with, they're getting a percentage of that. The hospitals get a percentage of that. We're seeing COVID-19 ventilators costing over $30,000 to use. They are ripping this. The whole medical system is ripping. It's just a big sham. Insurance company, medical system, all of it. The only way we get back to it is by doing what we're doing. Get back to the roots. Get back to caring about people and educating them on what they can get on campus. But it's that time. I see the look. I know it's that time. We're gonna wrap up the show again this week, guys. I just want to give a big shout out to Kyle, who unfortunately couldn't make it to the show today. He had a housing emergency. So hopefully we'll get him back on either next week or the week after. He's going to check his schedule for us because that's going to be a great show. We're going to get a little live glass bead demo. And we're going to talk glass, the glass industry. It's something that we all care and love about. And it's literally, it's kind of almost a forgotten art in the cannabis industry. And it's moving from pipes and small pieces to sculptures and crazy artwork now. So the industry is turning. And it's amazing how, you know, a year ago, we're at the pipe classic, and all the pipe blowers were really concerned because no one's buying glass anymore. They was buying little batteries, the cards, there's no glass anymore, right? To last year, recently, you know, these guys, the whole cannabis art world is now embracing the glass world and buying these 10,000, 12,000. I mean, I can't believe some of the prices on some of these custom pieces that they have out there. It's just amazing some of the work these guys do. So we're very excited to talk to them. Big, huge thank you to Thomas Marcone from Vermont Growth Coaching for a segment this week. Awesome job, buddy. And thank you for all your conversations. It's been really insightful. Brendan, I appreciate you as well as always. We're going to all stay on here and talk. Eric, thank you for coming on such short notice. I appreciate you. The conversation was great, man. We really love the idea. We love what you're trying to do. Again, let us know in any way we can help you. We have a vast network. And if you guys are out there tuning in the show right now, and you own a corporation, you own a farm, and you're trying to do good for your community, I can't think of another better way to do something for more than just a community. Like this will reach out to more people than just handing out phones to your neighbor right now. And it will all allow you to come back and do the same thing. Check it out. Reach out to Eric, Canna Cares. Eric, where can people get you at?
You can email me at Vermont Cannabis Cares at Gmail, and you can call me. You can text. You can iMessage me because I have no cell service. 802-591-7317. You can call me at home. The landline is 886-2948, and it also rings out in the greenhouse. So that's 886-2948. You can call me. I'd be happy to talk to you. And Joe, thank you so much. Thank everybody. I had a great time, and I really appreciated sharing some of my experiences and some of my beliefs, and I believe we can move the needle. So thank you so much.
Well, the honor and pleasure is all ours, man. We love to support you, as you know. Thank you for sharing your story, man. I know it's not an easy thing. It's things that people need to hear because we need to let patients know that there is choices, there is options, and you don't, just because your doctor told you that this is the end doesn't mean it's the end. You know what I mean? There are people out there keep fighting, don't give it. You know what I mean? And get outside, guys. We're talking about COVID, we're talking about nutrition. I want to give a shout out we talked about Joe Rogan a bunch today. He has an absolute fantastic podcast with Dr. Rhonda Patrick that aired about a week ago about nutrition, guys. Listen to it. Go educate yourself on your body, your nutrition, your health, and how to stay above this COVID thing and how to do what we're doing. live healthy.
And download and listen to his motivational. Listen to his motivational stuff. And put your struggles in front of you. And when shit gets bad and it gets tough and you gotta reach down, put whatever it is, the hardest thing that you gotta do, put that right in front of you. Look at it. Fight that thing. And when you get better every day, think about what's gonna be the hardest thing that you gotta do. What's gonna be the toughest thing that you gotta do. And put that right in front of you. And listen to his motivation.
No, it's true, man. And usually, sadly, 90% of it is within it's ourselves. And that's the hardest part to take. We gotta look in the mirror. We usually all start to. We can make excuses and we can blame everybody we want. Literally, though, it starts with ourselves, guys. That's it. We're peacing out. Thank you guys again. Tune in next week. We're gonna have. The schedule's getting packed right now. We have a bunch of fantastic guests coming on. We can't wait for the rest of the show. We got huge announcements that we're working on. I think we're gonna hold off on, but I just want to congratulate Brandon for his new project that he's working on. We're gonna laugh. It's gonna be great, guys. A lot of great things are gonna happen real soon. Stay tuned, Thomas. I love you, brother. We're out.
Next week.
Next week.
Bye, everybody.